Oh, you didn't know what happened?
No. Are you kidding me?
The casino said they changed their mind
after they let her come play
and lose 100.
Oh.
That she has to go.
The 2026 WSOP was supposed to be a historic milestone for Hustler Casino Live, with its first ever live-streamed high-stakes cash game at WSOP held at Paris, Las Vegas. The first session aired on June 5th and promised the kind of nosebleed action that had made HCL the most watched poker stream in the world. What nobody anticipated was that the night would be defined not by a massive pot or a spectacular bluff, but by the sudden, inexplicable disappearance of one of the table's most recognized regulars. Approximately 2.5 hours into the stream, the broadcast cut without a warning to a promotional graphic. When the cameras returned to the Feld, Britney Jing, a fixture of HCL's popular Max Payne Monday series, was gone. Her seat was empty and the chips had been removed from the table. Commentators offered no explanation on air, leaving thousands of live viewers completely bewildered. The only hint came from Nick Airball, who told the remaining players at the table,
"Oh, you didn't know what happened?"
No. Are you kidding me?
The casino said they changed their mind
after they let her come play
and lose 100.
Oh.
That she has to go.
To understand why this incident resonated so strongly with the poker community, it helps to understand who Britney Jing actually is. She's a Chinese high-stakes player who built a reputation as one of HCL's most entertaining and fearless regulars, known for playing a remarkably high percentage of hands and embracing the kind of variance that makes for riveting television. Her tracked livestream career spans 179 episodes and over 850 hours of play. She is, in short, no random walk-in, which made her treatment that night all the more jarring to observers. To find out what happened to Britney, we first have to break down the broader landscape reshaping high-stakes poker in Las Vegas in 2026. Over the past year, card rooms have been implementing a sweeping citywide crackdown on cash transactions driven by tightened federal enforcement of anti-money laundering regulations. The WSOP, which handles an enormous volume of cash across hundreds of events simultaneously, has been particularly aggressive in this new enforcement environment, cracking down on permitting players to enter high-stakes tournaments and cash games with large sums of physical cash rather than using documented, traceable options such as bank wire transfers or approved digital payment platforms. The underlying concern is not unfounded. Card rooms historically have been a favored vehicle for money laundering activities precisely because of the ease with which dirty cash can be exchanged for chips, played through at low risk, and then cashed out as winnings. Federal regulators have long scrutinized this vulnerability, and in 2025 and into 2026, their pressure on Las Vegas properties significantly intensified. What changed in this environment is that the compliance burden shifted dramatically, meaning card rooms now feel compelled to stop suspicious transactions before they occur, not simply flag them after the fact. Britney had attempted to buy into the HCL WSOP game with a large sum of physical cash. Money she says she had withdrawn from Hustler Casino in Los Angeles prior to this session. A cashier at the Paris Las Vegas cage flagged the transaction immediately. Under the new compliance protocols, she could not buy in with cash withdrawn from another card room and asked her to instead obtain a verified check from a Las Vegas property, then return to Paris with it. She went to the MGM property, obtained a legitimate check backed by what she described as legal winnings made shortly before the session, brought it back to the Paris cage, and had it accepted. She was explicitly cleared to play, took her seat, and the game began. For the first 2.5 hours she played, she lost, dropping nearly $100,000 in a series of brutal hands, including a large pot against Rampage and an all-in pre-flop confrontation for $150,000 that did not go her way. Then, without any prior indication, a compliance officer stepped in and determined she needed to be pulled out of the game pending further background review. The real damning detail in this story is not that Britney was ultimately removed. It is the sequence of events that led there. As HCL co-founder Ryan Feldman confirmed in a conversation, Britney had done exactly what the staff instructed her to do. The problem, Feldman explained, was that someone in a different department later reversed the decision after the game had already been underway for hours and significant amounts of money had already changed hands. This points to a fundamental breakdown in WSOP's compliance infrastructure. Not malice, but a dangerous lack of coordination between different departments handling the same player's eligibility. After days of silence, Britney released a detailed public statement. She chose her words deliberately, and the core message was pointed. The handling of her situation was both confusing and unfair. At no point before she was seated was she informed that any additional review was still pending or that she might be ineligible. If there was genuinely a compliance concern, she wrote, it should have been addressed before I was allowed to buy in and participate, not after the game had already begun and substantial amounts of money had already exchanged hands. She added that players deserve clear, consistent, and transparent rules before they are asked to put their money at risk, a sentiment that is difficult to argue with regardless of one's view on AML enforcement. She then directed 4 specific questions back at the WSOP. What specific rule or policy was applied, why the issue was not identified before she was seated, why she was approved and then later ruled ineligible, and how WSOP intends to resolve the situation fairly, including the proper accounting of any funds, fees, or checks that should not have been accepted in the first place. While Britney's case drew the most attention because it unfolded on a major stream, she was not the only player to run into AML-related barriers at the 2026 WSOP. Poker pro Andrew Moreno publicly shared on X that he had attempted to buy into a high roller tournament with cash and was turned away entirely. Neither Britney nor Moreno were under any suspicion of actual wrongdoing. Both incidents, as sources confirmed, were products of precautionary institutional policy rather than targeted investigations. The Britney Jing incident is a flashing warning sign for the entire high-stakes live poker ecosystem. In a world where the biggest cash games regularly see 6- and 7-figure buy-ins, the practical logistics of how that money moves are suddenly a front-page issue. Ryan Feldman himself hinted that similar issues could surface again as the summer series rolls on, a sobering acknowledgement that this was not a one-off glitch, but a symptom of a structural tension between the freewheeling cash culture of high-stakes poker and the increasingly rigid compliance demands of the modern cardroom industry. The lesson the community is drawing from the Britney affair is clear. Physical cash is now effectively radioactive in high-stakes Las Vegas poker. Bank wires, checks from verified properties, and approved digital wallets are now the only safe way to enter a big game.